Welcome to the first in a series of 3 videos on researching your topic. My name is Meredith Godsell, and today we will be talking about credible sources. I'm going to go over the most important information around credible sources, and then show you an example of how to find credible sources. Have a notebook with you so you can take some notes as we go along so you are ready to go and try it at the end of this video. Let's dive in. Before we get to the credible part of credible sources, let's talk about what a source is. A source is any place you get information from. Usually it's a book, magazine, newspaper, a video, a website. It could be your third cousin Larry. It could be an interview with an expert or an eyewitness. It's just any place that you get information from. The difference is between a credible source and just any old source is that you want to make sure that you're talking to someone or reading something by someone who knows what they're talking about. You, for the most part, are going to be getting your information from a book, a magazine, a newspaper, or a video, or a website. All of these things are really good places to go. And on those websites, videos, books, articles, etc., they're probably going to have an interview with an eyewitness or an expert. An eyewitness is someone who has seen the thing firsthand. Think about when you're watching the news with your mom or dad, and you see they're doing a story about a car crash. They usually interview people who were at the scene, who saw it, who witnessed it with their eyes, what happened. They're not going to interview someone who was 3 streets over who was just like, wait, there was a car crash? I had no idea. They want to see someone who was there. They want to get their information from someone who was there. An expert is something similar. You're going to talk to someone or read an account from someone who is experienced within the field. So you're going to talk to a heart surgeon if you want to learn about heart surgery, or a teacher if you want to learn about education. But it would be totally silly for me to go and talk to a heart surgeon who's never spent a day in the classroom teaching in front of a bunch of young children how to teach young children. No, I'm going to go ask them about heart surgery, and I'm going to talk to the teacher and ask for their expertise around education. Because in both of those separate areas, they are experts in their field. They have been doing it for a long time, and hopefully they went to school for it. So, when you're looking at sources, it's important that you find people that know what they're talking about and that will give you the facts, not their opinions. Which leads us into biases. I might be a teacher who has been around education a long time, but when you ask me a question about education, make sure that I give you the facts, because I might have some biases. I might feel strongly towards public education versus private education. Biases is being in favor or against one thing, person, or group compared to another, usually in what's considered an unfair way. When you're reading about a topic, it's important to look for biases. Some bias include gender, religion, and business. I'll show you a bit more when I show you how I found some sources. The easy way to check for biases is to think, does this sound like something I've read or heard before? Is this person focusing on one side of the argument only, or are they giving me the full story? And hands down the easiest one, is this person trying to sell me something? The answer to these questions will give you what you need to know about a source so you can get a fair representation of the topic. So we know what a source is, we know what biases are, and these two things combined lead us to find credible sources. So what is a credible source? It's a non-biased source of information that is going to give you the facts and be able to back up their facts with additional facts and proof. So when you look for a source, you need to look for non-biased articles, one that are telling you the facts. You can do this by making sure that they've cited their sources and fact-checking them. If you read the information in two different places, then it's probably okay. That's called fact checking. You can also go through and research your author. Did they go to school for this topic? Have they been working in the field for a long time? Let's say they haven't done either, but they've given you an extensive list of sources that you can go through and say, okay, they've done their research, therefore they are credible. Definitely look at the date. Since we're talking about science, science is constantly evolving and we're learning new things. So it's important to get things within the last few years so that way you know your information is up to date. You want to see both sides of the story. We should not only learn about public education, we should learn about public versus private. We should learn about everything. Also, a good giveaway is the end of a website where instead of a .com, because .com usually means they're selling you something. Not always. They can have other things on there, and that doesn't necessarily negate it. But good places to start are websites that end in edu, because that stands for education, .gov, because that's usually the government. So they're not trying to sell you something, and .org or .org. Those are nonprofits, and so they are usually going to give you the facts because they have nothing to gain from giving you another side of the story. It's important to understand why sources need to be credible. Misinformation is not good. Fake news and miseducating people can be a very, very harmful thing. You are learning at a young age how to give people the correct information. If we give people the correct information, they are able to make informed decisions and have informed opinions. That leads to a better world. If you have the wrong information, you can't make an informed decision. Credible sources help people to make informed decisions. We've touched on this a little bit already during the what of credible sources, but I want to make sure that we really focus on the how do I find credible sources, because finding credible sources does take time, but it is so important. So the first thing you can do is research your author. Make sure that you look them up to see if they're an expert in their field. Let's say they aren't an expert in their field, they're a journalist, they aren't a doctor. Well, have they talked to experts in the field? Have they done their research and cited their sources? Have they gone through and read expert accounts and eyewitness accounts? Have they talked to the right people? That will go through and tell you if it is a credible source. You can also look for the edu, the .gov, and the .org. All right, so I'm going to go through and show you how to find some credible sources for your research on nuclear energy power plants. And so the first thing I did was I went through and went to good old Google and I typed in nuclear energy advantages and disadvantages. Try saying that 5 times fast. And I found, just a whole bunch of articles. There's so many things. I've got a lot of different stuff on here, and so I need to wade through. And so I see some things that have edu, I see .us, I see some .coms, I see some .govs, so I see a .uk, so I know that that's like the British one. So I see scholarly articles. So there's a lot of different places that I can go. I also tried typing in nuclear power plants pros and cons. And funnily enough, I actually got a lot of different ones that were .coms. And to me, that goes like, they're probably trying to sell me something. They're probably a for-profit corporation. And so I'm hesitant to use those. So I did have to try a few different keywords, and you may also have to try a few different keywords based on your topic. But I want to go through and show you, I found 4 different sources, and I want to actually show you 3 of them that could be credible, but they give me a little bit of pause. And so I want to show you those before I show you my credible source that I found. So this first one I found was theenergysage.com. And I do notice that it was updated very recently, and it gives me a lot of pros and cons. It's really nice and laid out well. But you know what popped up is enter your zip code to find out which typical solar installation costs in your neighborhood. I thought, I haven't done a ton of research into it, but it's right off the bat, it's a red flag because it's asking me for my information. And it talks about cost. So it seems like they're trying to sell me something. Plus it ends in a .com. And so I'm not writing off this information, but it seems like this may have some bias. So I might not get the entire picture. So I could definitely still read through this, but it's not going to be my first topic. My next one that I found also, this one has a lot of sources, which is really, really nice. It's got a lot of hyperlinks. It is a .cal, and it says educational resources, which helps me feel a lot more comfortable with it. And so, okay, I'm seeing some hyperlinks, so I can click on those hyperlinks. Those are some good things. Okay, and this is taking me to a .org. So that's also the nice part, is that when you find these credible sources, if they have cited sources, then you can actually go through and get more sources from your sources. It's a beautiful thing. So I can go through and read through this. I see some charts. I see some good stuff. That .org, the fact that it was updated in March 2021 is really comforting. It's got lots of good source material, lots of hyperlinks to other things, to all their sources, a lot of good information. Oh, and it has a reference, which I do like. And we're going to talk about works cited during the final video in this series, and references are a type of works cited. And so that's really helpful. So this actually is a pretty good source. Okay, this is a good place to start. And then I also have this other one, which is a .us, which also gives me good information, and it's nice and easy to read. However, it is a power and gas company, so I'm kind of wondering, they might be trying to sell me something. They may have a few more bias. I'm not totally sure. I need to do some more research in there, but it's just something to be aware of. It's not that those are bad. It's just that, or totally uncredible. It's just we want to be aware of it as we're reading. And then this was yes, I know that this one's good. This is from the Office of Nuclear Energy, so it's a .gov. So it's the government giving this to me. It's very, very recent. It's got similar information to what I just read in other places, so I can fact check it. It gives me both advantages and challenges, so I'm getting the whole story. And I see all of these hyperlinks. And I'm seeing, oh, this is going to other areas. And it gives me a lot of really good backup sources. So this gives me a lot of good information, lots of sources. I'm able to fact check it. It's got a reliable source originally, so I think that this is a really good one to go with. So I'm going to stick with advantages and challenges of nuclear energy. Today we reviewed what are sources, what is a bias, what are credible sources, why they're important, how to find them, and you saw a model of how to check for credibility. Tune in next time for how to take notes on your credible sources.